Welcome to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. Of course, I'm going to say it's another week. And we are rapidly accelerating into that silly season, into that end of year. Um, there's always a party. Every week's got something. Every evening's got something. And we've reached that stage of, but what am I going to wear? So, of course, what's happening is, and I'm going to tell you more about it after the break, but let's just jump into about Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. Of course, it is all about healthcare professionals. It's about us understanding that they're people, about us working very hard to improve communication, about us improving the relationship with the healthcare professional and the patient, and of course the patient's family, because they're also very directly involved. And then also as the public, for us to not be sitting under a rock, for us to take ownership of what it is, what's happening with our own health. I was listening to some doctors talking about how often healthcare professionals ignore their own health and don't do self-care. And then before they know it, they're carted off to ICU or they're having some sort of medical emergency. And they're going like, how did this happen? And as you know, I always talk about healthcare systems who sit in boardrooms and have this whole big discussion about, okay, what are we going to do? She didn't listen to me. I gave her a bladder infection. I gave her a headache. And it's about them all deciding, okay, how do we amplify? How do we make this message louder? Because we're not listening to whispers. And so there are quite a few doctors who are experiencing the very, very loud shouting that a various body system is now doing because they haven't listened. They haven't done self-care. So a reminder to you out there of saying, prioritize self-care. It's not selfish. It allows you to continue. It allows you to be your best self for your patients, for your friends, for your staff. Okay, so let's go for a break. When we come back, I'm wanting to talk to you about something that's on my heart. Well, there are a few somethings. So let's go for the break.
The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is a professional development center for professionals who aim to improve their professional standing. This means that the learning programs we run are more than just academic programs. They are work-based programs that focus on leveraging your current experience as a professional to build your overall profile. A year down the line, the Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is developing into a preferred center for professional development in Pretoria, with 8 professional development faculties including accounting, teaching, entrepreneurship, as well as IT and many more. For more information, go to acwbl.org or dial +27 12 751 7608. The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning, where work is learning.
Welcome back. You are listening and watching Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. Exciting now that we are not only audio, we're also visual with VUCA Vision. And of course, there are going to be a lot more exciting developments on that front. But let me start off, as I said, silly season. Of course, with silly season comes banquets, awards, all sorts of things, where I've spent my time this last weekend. Oh, what am I going to wear? But yes, the clinics banquet and awards is coming up. That's on the 8th of November. And also the business side of medicine is also there on the 15th of November, and also a banquet and an awards. So very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing you at both of them. Yeah. And then what's been niggling me in my head and in my heart are some leadership issues that I'm starting to see more than frequently. So let's just jump into them and let me just unpack what I'm starting to see. What I am seeing is that a lot of managers, and we'll call them managers, they are sending their people to coaching or for some sort of intervention. And it's like, okay, off you go. I'm sending you my people. I'm sending you my person. I'm sending you whether it's 1, 2, 3, however many. Okay. And it's almost like that's where their responsibility, that's where their accountability ends. And you know that whole thing of like, oh, I wanted the world to change, so I sent the world to get changed, as opposed to saying, no, change starts in us. But these managers are almost like they're absolved of any kind of growth themselves. And so it doesn't take very long for me to be working with their people and obviously interacting from a point of view of, could I have a follow-up meeting? Let's send a report, all those kind of things, to realize that these specific managers that I'm talking about, they don't reply to emails. They don't follow up. They don't keep promises. And they're just like stagnating, absent. And of course, when you speak to their people, they say, no, this is what we deal with. This is normal. This is what we put up with every single day. So it's quite frustrating. It's also very it's demoralizing. You start to feel like, oh, well, come on now, you know. Um, and if I'm feeling like that as a coach, all right, can you imagine what employees are feeling? And that's where we get the disengaged, the oh well, and we're all very familiar with the fact that we don't leave companies, we leave managers. And having interacted with quite a few managers lately, um, I totally get why people leave managers. So if you are a manager listening, please ask yourself honestly, are you one of those absconded people who doesn't read emails, who doesn't action things, who doesn't follow up, who doesn't back your people? And if you are, how are you reaching goals with it? How are you achieving what you're setting out to do? How inspired or engaged are your people? Because I can guarantee you they're not inspired, they're not engaged. And with each day, they're probably becoming more and more actively disengaged. And it's not, I mean, to use a funny expression, I mean, it's not brain science here. It's just like, are you actively present in their lives? Do you engage? Do you follow up things? Do you remember details? Um, but it's almost like, I've seen some people also seem to think that they can send their children to grade 1 and pick them up in grade 12. So I'm seeing management almost now being as involved or not as involved at that level of, oh, well, I've sent you to coaching. I'll pick you up at the end of coaching, assuming they even remember. And I've been, I don't know, a whole host of emotions, like mortified, surprised, shocked, astonished, and quite frankly, angry about how you can send a report and get no reply. I can request a meeting with the manager and the person and get no reply. And you know what happens? It's about communication. Even if you say, I don't have availability, or I don't want to meet with my employee, or whatever the story is, but communicate it. And I suppose as I'm saying that, a lot of people will say, but silence is communication. But don't be surprised when your employee gets that message. And then you say, oh, but I didn't mean that. Oh, I'm busy. I'm whatever. Okay. What I'm also seeing as well is that managers are sending their people to coaching, and hallelujah, I'm very happy for that, but aren't doing any of their own growth, don't have their own coaches, um, aren't taking accountability or responsibility for their own growth. So the question then is, how do you expect your people to be able to look up to you, to be able to, and I'm not talking about fangirl stuff here now, but just to respect, to look up to you, to go like, wow, okay, this is my manager, this is my leader, this is somebody who I can learn from. If you have checked out of emails, you've checked out of follow-up, you've checked out of heavens only knows how many other things. And of course, many of you are going to say, but do you know how busy I am? All right, so they also come to coaching to work out how to prioritize what is in your calendar. Come to coaching to work out how to put up boundaries, how to engage with what is important. Because believe you me, your employees are extremely important. And another part of not only management is, while I'm thinking about it, while I'm on my soapbox over here, another part of the industry is recruitment. The devastation caused to so many people who have been retrenched, downsized, correct sized, outsized, whatever you want to call it. They have got little shreds of hope, and they often are sending CVs. They are sometimes even replying or responding to a recruitment person who's put out the call for, hey, we'd like to talk to you, please send your CV. And then there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing after that. You can phone 300 times, you can send emails, you can do whatever, and you just hear no feedback. And there again, even if there is no feedback, tell the candidate that there is no feedback, that we've had no response. I don't know, okay? Or they've closed this position, or it went to Johnny. Johnny got the position. But just say something. But what's also happening as well is that recruitment agents are also, and not all of them, please note, not all of them. And if you are one of them who isn't, hallelujah for you, okay? But the majority of recruitment agents use the excuse of, oh, but there are too many. There are too many replies. There are too many thises. Do you know how busy we are? Well, then, guys, in today's world of automation, set up an automated response that says, thank you so much for, okay? We regret to inform you that if you've not heard from us in whatever, your application has not been successful. But when there's just radio silence or crickets, okay, some people would say, people don't even know if the CV landed, if it went into an inbox. I even heard people on social media talking about, click here for easy application, and that they never ever hear anything. It also, like they've said, like it just goes directly into abyss. It just goes into nothing. So what's that about? Okay. And as much as we talk about AI and we talk about people's jobs changing and all those kind of things, believe you me, the service that is being offered by the majority of recruitment is going to be replaced a way better by AI, because AI will say thank you. AI will say, we are working on it. You have been shortlisted. You haven't been shortlisted. We haven't heard from, okay? And it's not going to just be nothing. So yes, so those are two of the, one of the aspects that I'm talking about, but in two different places where management, seniority, meant to be leaders have like checked out. They've checked out on their own growth. They've checked out on their own leadership path, and they just AWOL. And I'm really inviting you that if you're finding that you are AWOL, if you're burnt out, if you feel like, what's the point? Please reach out to a professional, reach out to a coach to help us help you to find yourself again. Because the stress levels of losing good staff and having to replace them again takes mega energy. It actually takes less energy just to look after the staff that you have, to retain the talent that you do have, rather than having to go shopping for new talent. So on that, let's go for a break.
The home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
views,
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
sports,
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuga Online, your inspiration radio station.
Welcome back. You are watching and listening to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. Today, I thought this could be a different episode instead of having a guest. It's really about me sharing what's on my heart, also saying to you as well that we're rapidly getting into silly season. So we've got all different events coming up. If you have an event, let me know. Maybe I don't know about your event. The more people who know, the more people who can attend, hopefully the bigger the difference is that we can make. And then, of course, we've also been talking about management who have checked out. They've gone AWOL. They don't answer emails. They don't reply to things. They don't uphold meetings. They don't attend meetings. And they just, yes, totally disengaged. And then, of course, that has got a massive ripple, not just a little ripple, not kind of a little tiddly wave there. It's tsunami effect on people, on their people. And it causes people to feel like they are not seen, they don't matter, they're not important. And it has been so difficult where people have said, oh, we've got to send this person, this person really needs coaching. And I suppose as well that all the coaches who coach children will often say, no, it's the parents that need the coaching. And I'm starting to think, you know what, it's not the employee who needs the coaching, it's the manager to find out what's happened. Where have you gone off the path? And of course, what happens is that in many organizations that I work in, there's very much a hierarchical kind of you can't talk about it. You can't see your manager as a person to say, okay, hello, manager, what's happening in your life? Where are things going wrong? What are your stress levels? How can I help? What can we do together? Because it's also like that they are like godlike, very much in healthcare. They are godlike. And so it's almost like you can't engage with, you can't discuss, you can't, and you also can't hold accountable because of the power games that we play. Of course, it's quite hard to even play power games when the person's absent. Yes, and then something else that I've also noticed is from a leadership point of view, is where you're finding that people are being sent to coaching. And I explain, as do all my colleagues, that coaching and mentoring are confidential. That there is a certain level that is reported back to the company. Sometimes there's a report or there's a verbal something or other, or there's an update or whatever we call it. But for the most part, the rest is confidential. It's bound by a code of ethics, whether it's from Commensa, ICF, EMCC, ABCCP, ABCCP, wherever it is, okay, there is a code of ethics of what sets coaching and mentoring apart is the fact that it is confidential and it's safe. And a lot of times I'm finding that a lot of managers, okay, not all managers, a smaller proportion of managers are saying, no, but I want more information. What did you talk about? What happened with? How did this unpack? What happened with that? And it's more a case of saying, no, but that's confidential. Okay. And a few times in the last few weeks, I've been approached, but no, we need more detail. And, some people want so much detail, it's almost like you should have just recorded the session, but then it wouldn't be safe. It wouldn't be vulnerable. It wouldn't be allow the person to be real and to really share what's in their heart. It would be a recorded version of, yes, no, everything's fine. And not for a moment are we sitting and coaching and talking about all the things that are wrong. And even if you can report on themes of saying, okay, we spoke about boundaries. Okay. As soon as I go deeper than that into what kind of boundary, with who, how come, where, how often, what's the background to this, what's the action steps, what's the homework. As soon as you go into more detail than we spoke about boundaries, you break confidence. Because the person has not, it's not just, and yeah, I was thinking about it. It's not just a head-based conversation about, yes, you get boundaries, you get whatever. The person involves their heart. They bring their emotion into it. They bring often their childhood, how they've been raised. And also it's an awareness of, oh, okay, I'd never thought about that. And so they suddenly start to see nuggets about themselves, understanding of self-awareness of who they are, what's important to them. And that cannot be reported, people. It can't be put into a report. Or if we talk about self-awareness or emotional literacy or emotional awareness, we can't go more in than that. Like self-awareness about what? Okay. I'm very, very tempted to say self-awareness that their manager is nonsense. But yes, no, Colleen's professional, can't do that. Yeah, so it's just reminding people that ask yourselves, yes, let's grow our people. Let's allow them to reach specific goals. And there's nothing wrong with sending your person or people to coaching with the idea of saying, let's please work on emotional regulation in the office. Let's please work on self-awareness. Let's please work on confidence levels. Let's please work on presentation or whatever it is. Okay. And also to give examples of saying the person currently behaves in a specific way and we wanting them to behave in this way. So we need to move from A to B. So then as a coach, you are then committing, or not committing, you're contracting with the client. But remember, there are two clients now. There's the person, the sponsor who's paying, and there's also the coachee or the mentee who you're working with. The mentee or the coachee has always got the most power in terms of confidentiality because they are your direct client. And the sponsor, although they're paying the money, are the indirect client. Okay. So when it comes to, okay, we need to move from A to B. Nothing wrong with that. But let's sit with the coachee and the sponsor to say, what does it look like? They, for the most part, are scattered. They don't come to work on time. Their projects aren't finished. The presentations are revolting, blah, 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 blah. Not just, oh, it needs to improve. What does it look like? And yes, absolutely, we categorically need to measure it so that we know that we've moved from here to there, like going from Cape Town to Joburg. Where's the measurement, right? But if we don't know what the starting point is and we don't know what the end point is, but what is important is that, yes, we are trying to increase confidence. We are trying to increase timekeeping. We are trying to improve self-awareness. We're trying to make the person more EQ aware, all right, from here to there. But the in-between, what happened on the journey is confidential. It cannot be spoken about. It cannot be mentioned to, alluded to, just put in, oh, well, on the slide, don't tell anyone. No. What differentiates coaching and mentoring from anything else out there is the confidentiality, the ethics around that, and the fact that it's not, oh, well, you needed to know. Nope. That's what makes coaching and mentoring work. That's what makes it so powerful, because it is safe, and it's categorically and absolutely safe. So for all the coaches and mentors out there who are being pushed into a corner by employees who do not understand, please, or employers, please help them understand. Please make sure that you stick to the ethics of coaching and mentoring. And for all of the employers out there who say, oh, but give me more information. This is not gossip. It's not juiciness. Let's watch a soap. Okay? It's about someone's life. And they have brought their life to the coach and have put it out for inspection, but not by all and sundry, by the person directly and by the coach or by the mentor. No one else. Okay, as you can see, it makes me cross. So, but This is why I'm using the opportunity to explain this, because maybe people don't understand. And often what happens is when we go to HR, traditionally it's always been that HR is not confidential. HR works for the company. And maybe HR is starting to change now. But historically, HR has been, go get me information on. Okay? And the person goes to get information on, goes to understand what's happening. And of course, it comes back in a report. It comes back into a board meeting. It comes back into some sort of committee meeting. But coaching and mentoring does not work like that. So if you are planning on sending your people, please also, and as I said, kudos to you for growing your people. But please also don't put yourself on the back foot of, no, I don't need any growing. I don't need any investing in. You do. Okay. What's also happening is, yes, your people get to stand on the shoulders of giants and they get to be more. They get to do a short circuit, a shortcut into a higher position. Okay. Whether it's real or into greater growth. But it doesn't help if you don't grow, if you just sit there going, oh, no, I'm done, hey? Because what happens is your people overtake you. And we want people to overtake us, but not because we've just stayed in the same space. So make sure that you grow. And sometimes we can't necessarily grow at the same pace as our people, especially younger people, because they grow fast. But let's not be stagnant. Let's not just sit there like a choked up river full of weeds. Nope. Okay. All right. So the important take home from that is to know that coaching and mentoring are confidential. You can have overall themes. You can have an idea of what areas are we working on? What are we trying to improve? Yeah. And then just before we break as well, I also wanted to share with you that growth is not linear or not, I don't know, like on a graph, okay? It's not just jump, here's growth. And at any point along the timeline, we can go, okay, we're at this point. Ooh, okay, we're at that point. Because growth doesn't work like that. Growth is not linear. Growth is messy. It's also not, okay, let's just pop into Johnny's life and see how much he's grown. Where are we? It's also not always measurable. It's not always tangible. And sometimes we can plant the seeds today and water, nurture, but we can't go, wow, these carrots not grown. Because they will grow. But maybe only way down the line. Okay, and I'm going to say, maybe these carrots grow in a year. And you might say, what kind of carrots are these? Because actually, human growth are not carrots. They are not. Plant them and I don't even know how many days it takes to grow carrots. I'm sure you guys will tell me. It's not X days later. Yo, look at us, we've got carrots. A few more days after that, we harvest the carrots and we get to eat them. Growing people and people doing self-awareness, self-growth, a journey too. It's a journey. It's not a, hey, now I've reached it. Now I've got to this destination. Okay. All right. Let me actually add as well before we go for the break. Something else we've also got to understand is that people may want to change. And we cannot change anything if we aren't aware of what needs changing. And then even when we are aware of, oh, I'd like to change, we have to choose to change it. Okay. So we're aware and we've chosen to change something. But the brain is very funny. It likes its old pathways. It likes the old way we used to do it, where we didn't have to think how we rode the bicycle, or are we on fourth gear, or are we in second gear, or oh, some cars, gee, maybe we're in sixth gear. You don't have to think about it. And so what happens as soon as you are under stress, or you are like, oh, can't do this, or you're having these second thoughts, your brain defaults to the old pathway. So I like to talk about elephants who walk through the bush, not the jungle people, okay? They walk through the bush, and as they're walking through the bush, they have got a pathway. It's a very well-worn pathway. We know that's the way you go, right? And as you decide, no, we're not going to do that pathway anyway, we're now going to do a new pathway. All right. It's so much easier just to go down that old pathway because it's been well worn. We know it. We know every crook. We know every bend. We don't have to fight any kinds of foliage in the way. It's just like, zoom, down we go. And so that's what happens because of habit. People default to the old way, even though they want to, even though they've chosen to change. And so it's important that when a person is growing, when they're choosing to change, especially like in emotional regulation, when they are choosing to be more empathetic or to understand another person's perspective, that is not just, but you said you would. It's the whole habits story of, did we just go down the old elephant pathway because it was easier? And we need to be mindful. And that's what we're not always, because, we're often busy running around doing all sorts of things. We need to be mindful of the fact that even though we are running down the old path, how long is it before we go, oh, hang on, I'm on the old path. What am I going to do about it? And to then change lanes again. But if we aren't mindful of it, we can just, oh, well, that didn't work. Never mind. Just keep on this one, assuming you even know. And then months down the line, it's like, oh, well, yeah, I wanted to, hey? I wanted to be better at, or I wanted to improve, or I wanted to grow, but yeah, it was too hard and I was too busy. And so it's so important for people to be supported in their change, in their let's do it differently, because as much as they want to, the actual doing is not so easy. Okay, so now let's go for a break.
How do you know the life of personal coach you're about to work with is who they say they are? How do you know if they can do the job? At the Africa Board for Coaching, Consulting and Coaching Psychology, we can tell you. So, before you share your secrets and spend your money, check with us first. Visit www.abccccp.com or call us on 012-751-7608. The ABCCP, the professional body for coaches.
Okay, I'm back. As you know, Colleen Qvist, Healthcare Hour with me. We have spoken about quite a few things, and I see that I've spoken a lot already. Can you believe it? It's funny how much you can talk when I start on my passionate topics. What are your passionate topics? I'd love to know. What makes you angry, cross, disappointed, upset? Also, from the point of view of leadership, from the point of view of management, what for you is, makes you boil over? What for you, if we had to all get around the table, what is it that you're wanting your employees to know? And vice versa, as an employee, what are you wanting your manager to know? Can we facilitate conversations? Can we sit around the same table and say, okay, we are both human. How do we actually bring ourselves? How can we bring our vulnerability? How can we make it better? How can we engage better? Yes. So that's been my message for today. I hope that it did resonate. I hope I didn't come across as too passionate about it, but there's never such a thing as too passionate. Yes. And also, I'm looking forward to seeing you somewhere out there in silly season, because, we will meet up at some event, some banquet, some meeting. I know that there are a lot of other meetings in the way, not in the way, in this week and in the next few weeks. So I'm sure to bump into you in one of them. Please come say hello, and let's have a selfie together. Yes, let's capture the moment. All right, so you are loved, you matter, and you're not alone. And we'll see you next week.